Welcome to another edition of First and 10 Summer Series here on KLFY Plus. I am your host, News 10 Sports anchor Jonathan Bulott, joined by News 10 Sports anchor Karaski Melvin. Andrew DeBella has the night off. Karaski, we got a good one today for everybody out here in Acadiana. We're talking to the Erath Bobcats, coming off a perfect regular season, an 11-1 year. Falling in the second round of the playoffs, Union Parish will be joined today by head coach Eric LeBlanc, entering year 9 with the program, as well as senior wide receiver and defensive back Aiden Tallmore. Ski, what a great year it was for the Bobcats.
Let's start with that. The regular season being able to go to 10-1, it was historic. First time the school league program was able to do that, and no matter who's in front of you, it's not necessarily easy to pull off a perfect regular season, and that's incredible. And one of the things noted with this team, their defense in games quite stout at times. I mean, there's a streak here where it's shutout, and
then they followed that by only allowing 8, then 12, and then another shutout in the first round of the playoffs.
It is incredible with that defense, and on top of it, their offense really going off there. Of course, being led and definitely helped by Jack Landry, former KLFY Athlete of the Week. Now, Nichols with a Colonel. It'll be interesting to see on how that offense will go as far as who's going to take the lead for that team.
Yeah, Landry was a gunslinger to say the least. Over 1,200 all-purpose yards, 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on this season. So it'll be interesting to hear from Coach LeBlanc on how they plan to address the departure of Landry. But you're also going to be missing out on some good production from Jaleel Charles. He went for over 100 attempts, almost 1,000 yards. He averaged 8 yards a pop, 10 touchdowns. He also caught 12 balls out the backfield, 128 yards, a touchdown, and he was getting it done on defense. So a good two-way star that you have there with Jaleel Charles. When we look at their schedule, obviously we mentioned earlier the defensive onslaughts that they had towards the middle parts of the season, but they also faced some stout competition throughout the year, especially that opening week win over Laurelville at home, winning 34-19.
Oh yeah, that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's a sneaky rivalry, but that is a fairly good rivalry between those two teams. Laurelville had in recent year came to Erath and knocked them out of the postseason. So getting that win on that opening week, that's an incredible win, and they were able to keep that momentum going all throughout, and it's just incredible to what they were able to go through. I mean, tough loss to end it. It was a grinding out there, a 14-9 decision there against Union Parish. So we'll see where that goes. Now, we were talking about the departing people from Erath, Jonathan. Recently, Erath held a youth camp that brought in people from the middle school to take part in, and some of the freshmen. Well, and we'll talk, and I'll ask Coach LeBlanc about this, because we talked about this with Coach Poole about the connection between the middle school and the high school.
The continuity between the
continuity and how important that is. When I went over there with that to catch it, and that's one of the things, he was glad to, hey, we have an opportunity to bring these kids in early, kind of show them what the expectation is and what we are looking for to make that transition a lot easier.
Before we go ahead and go to the break, let's 2 quick talking points real quick. First, let's start off with the District 6-2A for Erath. They'll be back in it this year, a district that they look like they can handle decisively. They're only losing 1 game in the playoffs last year. Meanwhile, Abbeville and St. Martinville still looking to get things together. They finished the season 3-8. Kaplan, they're nipping at the heels. They're 7-5, but they still got some work to do.
Absolutely, definitely, it's definitely winnable. There's opportunities there that they could perhaps have a bit of a repeat performance. We shall see again in any given Friday or Thursday. Something can catch you, but yeah, it looks good. It seems to appear on first blush breaking well for them.
Finally, before the break, let's look at their 2026 season schedule. They're opening up the season on the road at Laurelville, a matchup from last year's season opener. They're also going to have some high-profile matchups. Week 3, taking on Lafayette High at home. They're going to take a trip to Lakeshore. That's a really good program over there on the North Shore as well. They also have matchups with Marksville, Abbeville. They'll round out the season at Kaplan on November 5th.
I'm very interested in that Lakeshore, Marksville, those two matchups, and see how that'll break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, after the break, head coach Eric LeBlanc will join us here on First and 10 Summer Series when we come back on KLO5 Plus. Welcome back to First and 10 Summer Series here on KLO5 Plus. We are now joined by the head coach of the Erath Bobcats, entering year 9 with the program, head coach Eric LeBlanc. First off, coach, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us this summer.
Yeah, man. Like we said earlier, thank y'all for having us out here.
Absolutely. So
hopefully we have a little bit of fun.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. So let's just talk about the summer. How's it been so far for you in the program, and what have y'all been really looking to hone in on this offseason?
Yeah, it's been a great summer for us so far. You know, we're in week 5 now of our summer program, and I think our guys have really adapted to it well. You know, we adapted a new slogan for us this year, and it's you know, we felt like we've been moving in the right direction for a few years now, and kind of got together with our captains and talked about really where we wanted to end up. And you know, our motto this year is defend the standard. So we've added some things this summer as far as our standards go, whether it's in the weight room, on the field, on the track, in meetings. How we, you know, talk about trash and talk about equipment and talk about our house, and it's been a really good summer as far as that goes, and we're just trying to bleed it into the season.
Let's talk a little bit about setting the standard. I mean, this program, it's turned around completely since the 23-24 season. Y'all went 2-8 that year, followed that up with an 8-2 mark, and then last season, your perfect regular season, and also getting a win against Bogalusa in the opening round of the playoffs. Kind of just where do you feel like the change really clicked with this football program and started, you know, showing in the win column?
So we talked about it when it happened. That senior class, when you talk about that 23 season, that senior class was really the ones that started it off for us, where we felt like there were guys that were there that were really talented. There were guys that were there that really were hungry and wanted to win. And you know, we had a tough schedule and we knew it. We win a dogfight for most of those games that we played that year. And man, you know, injuries and just a lack of depth that year really hurt us. And those guys wanted something more for themselves. You know, we turned around and it was a crazy year because week 10 of that year we ended up breaking, I think, like 6 school records. We were finally healthy, and we know we have a great game against Donaldsonville, and it was a great way to go out, but it kind of showed who that team could have been. You know, we go into the 24 season. A different mentality, just hungry, not wanting a season to be like it was the year before. And, you know, we started moving in the right direction. Kind of, we changed some things how we did in-house, and it was a great thing for us. Our captains took roles, took leads that they haven't before, and, you know, they turned it into 8-2 year, turned it into 11-1 year last year. And we talk about right now with our guys, and you're going to get to talk to one of our captains in a little bit, about it's not really the guys that are there. It's kind of who we've built our program to be, and, you know, the foundation that we've set from years ago, from that 2-8 season. And you know, we kind of take a little bit of pride, and they put a little chip on their shoulder. And I tell them all the time, you know, it's you tell me, is it because of the guys that were here, or is it because the people that are here now and the program that we've built? And they all agree it's about who we are now. So we're just going to keep building off of it. And yes, we have a new schedule and new guys in-house and new guys in starting roles, but we're looking forward to building off of that same season we had last year.
Can't wait to see it. Go ahead, Ski.
Are there anyone in particular with these younger guys who are kind of echoing that message of setting the standard? Because, yeah, so you got some leaders who have departed, but who are the younger ones who are perhaps stepping up and saying, like, hey, we got to continue to set this standard here?
So it's kind of weird how cycles happen in smaller schools. You know, I know we talk to a lot of bigger schools all the time, and it's mostly their juniors and seniors that really, like, they develop every year. You know, they're getting a new starter every year. And for us, back in 2023, when we had that year, we had a lot of sophomores on the field. And, you know, those turned into juniors and seniors who had some really good years. And, you know, last year we had a lot of sophomores who got to play, not because they was needed, but because we were in a lot of games where we were ahead early and they got a lot of experience. And we look this year turning around. You talk about leaders, young leaders on the team. We actually have 3 of our 6 team captains are juniors this year, and, you know, that's rare for us. And most of them are seniors that come in to play and get voted in by their teammates. And this year, you know, seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen are like all voted, and there was 3 of them that were juniors. And those guys got to play a lot last year, and you know, along with the other 3 senior captains that we have this year, those guys have done a great job of setting the tone every morning, whether it's for warm-ups in the weight room and during competitions. It's been a good start for us.
We had spoken with Church Point head coach Rob Poole about this, and we talked about this. You guys recently had a youth camp, where it had some of your middle school, some of the middle school kids, some of the freshmen being in there, taking part in it. Kind of expound upon getting them in early to be able to kind of install kind of that standard, and also, you know, kind of having that continuity between the middle school and the high school, and how easier and that makes for you guys as a coaching staff.
No doubt. It's fun for us too as coaches. You know, we don't get to work with our younger programs that much. Yes, we'll go have some fun with them at a youth football practice, or we'll go to a middle school football practice tryouts and kind of see those guys. But just getting them face to face and getting to see how they work, how they respond to something they've never heard before, whether it's a coaching cue or an entirely new dictionary of terminologies that are football related. You know, we get to see guys who's their first year playing football at age 10, and then we get to see guys that are freshmen now who've been playing for 10 years. And it's been really fun. It's something that's grown over the past few years. You know, I want to say that, you know, our captains have also been in that same youth program for us for the past few years. We have fun doing it. You know, I get to go to our middle school football games, and we host some youth football games at our stadium every year. And we get to see those guys play. And it's always fun. You get to see them come off the field. You high five the quarterback's cans. It's like, man, that's something that we worked at camp. You know, and it was 2 months prior to it. But just seeing the joy that they have in football, and kind of trying to, you know, build a little effort and build a little standards about how we run on the field and how we run off the field, and how we focus and pay attention to details when we have coaches are coaching you. Just all those little things, man. It's enjoyable for us as a coaching staff to be able to get it out to our youth.
Coach, you lost about 20 seniors from last season, including your starting quarterback, Jack Landry, who was a KLFY Athlete of the Week last season. Can you just kind of talk about what it's been like kind of replacing some of those leaders from last year, like Jack and like Jalil Charles, and players in other positions as well, and how has that process been like?
Yeah, so I think it's like every year, you know, you kind of find who your guys are right now as a program, and who's kind of helped develop, and who's going to be, you know, who's going to be your headstone of the program. And, you know, I think we have a bunch of them this year, guys that are returning. Yes, we lost some great seniors, and they help set those standards for us. And I think the standards they help set is, yes, a winning tradition, but it wasn't necessarily the wins. It's like, how do we win? What do we have to do in the classroom? What do we have to do on the field? What do we have to do on the track to help us get there? And, you know, we had 19 seniors last year. And for the majority of them, most of them played and started for us, and a couple of them started both ways. And man, those guys help set standards for these young guys that are going to build for a long time.
Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the way that your defense played as well last year. There was a stretch of 5 weeks where y'all only allowed 20 points. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, y'all were putting up 45 plus. Kind of just expand upon how y'all were able to, you know, be so effective on defense this season.
One thing we do every day, we work defense first. Because I tell the guys, at the end of the day, if we're having a terrible day of offense, at the end of it, the other team doesn't score, they can't win. That's the bottom line. We might go to triple overtime and something crazy happen, but it's gonna be 0-0 at some point. And you know, so we harp on it, we work on it hard. I think it allowed us, whenever we started going more goods versus goods, it allowed us to do a little bit more on offense to try to challenge our defensive guys. You know, and put a little pressure on them so that whenever the time came, you know, I think that some of those shutouts that we had, we were able to do a little bit more offensively during those scout periods than, say, another team would have against us.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ski.
Looking at the roster that you have this year, what are some of the things that you have, looking at it, you have extreme confidence in? It's like, I know this team can do this thing.
Yeah. For me, I think it's like what we went back to last year. And yes, we had Jack Landry on our team. And yes, we had some great receivers, but man, we were able to run the football. And if we can establish a run game, same as we did last year, you know, we ran for 2,500 yards last year. And that was the greatest part about having Jack on our team. He was probably one of the most humble kids we ever had. He could have gone out there every day and threw for 500 yards. But he knew that if we were able to run the football, play action, and then take some shots whenever we had the chance, we were going to be a really good football team. And I think that's who we're going to be again this year. And yeah, we got a great receiver, and you're going to talk to one of them in a little bit. But man, whenever we get able to establish a run game and do impose our will on the other team especially with those guys in the box, it opens up a lot of things for our offense.
Coach, 2 quick questions for you before we go ahead and go to break. First off, let's just talk a little bit about the schedule y'all were able to put together for this season. Y'all are opening the season at Loreauville, taking on the Tigers again for a second straight year in a season opener. You're going to finish the year at Kaplan. What do you like about the schedule and what y'all were able to do?
What I like about this schedule is that it kind of allows us to accept the challenge. You know, you look at it, yes, we're a 3A school. We're playing 2 5A teams this year and 4 4A schools this year. And there's zero fear in our locker room and in our facilities when it comes to that schedule. I talked to the guys about kind of taking pride in it and taking ownership in it where, hey, those schedules are the teams that wanted to play you and the teams that we feel like we're going to better compete with. And, yeah, they're bigger schools, but at the end of the day, you know, this is going to help us prepare us for the playoffs and get us over the hump at the end of the year.
Finally, you mentioned him a couple times throughout this conversation. What does Aiden Tallmore mean to your program, both on and off the field, and why did you want to feel the need to bring him today and showcase him to all of Acadiana?
Yeah, he's a special human being, and you know, he's kind of the epitome of what it means to be a Bobcat, and you know, he works his butt off every day. Whenever he comes to workouts, he shows up on time. And he gets the job done. You know, I was actually talking to him. We're gonna have one of our guys missing this week whenever we go to the quick slants out at STM, and just talking to him about some positions he may have to play. And he's one of those guys, Coach. You just put me wherever you need, and I'll be ready to go. Fully expecting to be a 2A starter for us this year. And you know, Aiden's a captain for a reason. And if I'm not mistaken, it's his second year being a captain for us. And first, okay. So first year, I think it was a close run for him last year, but I think he was a guy who's been leading for a long time, and he finally gets this opportunity to put his foot forward for us.
Absolutely. We can't wait to hear from the captain, Aiden Tallmore, after the break. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today on First and 10 Summer Series.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll be right back here on KLO Fly Plus after the break. Welcome back to First and 10 Summer Series here on KLO Fly Plus. We're continuing our conversation with the Erath Bobcats, and joining us now is senior wide receiver, defensive back, and team captain, Aiden Tallmore. Aiden, thank you so much for taking some time out your summer and coming to join us.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me. My coach, he told me that I was going to be able to come here and be with KLFY. I was really excited to come.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No problem. So let's just kind of talk about these past 4 years that you spent with Erath. You're entering your senior season this year. Kind of what are the emotions like for you? Kind of realizing this is the last step on the beginning stages of your high school football journey.
Well, being my senior year, I feel like this season is going to be really fun for us because of the challenge that we do have with the new schedule. And I really like being like on the team for like all 4 years of high school because I got to be there like the year that we did go 2-8. And then I got to watch us progressively get better every year. And I feel like this year, my senior year, is going to be our best year yet.
Let's just talk a little bit about that ride, that you've been here through the ups and the downs, the good and the bad with this program. What does it kind of feel like coming out of last season where y'all had your perfect regular season and then some success in the playoffs? You'll fall to Union Parish, but overall, it was a great year for the program.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. For me, the year was great until, yeah, we did get to Union Parish and we lost. During that game, I feel like I did hurt the team a little bit because I did drop a crucial ball in the end zone that I could have caught. And I want to get back to that position this year, get back in the playoffs, hopefully have nice, good games, close games. And I want to be able to close games this year. That's the plan. We want to finish every game.
That shows a lot of character, especially taking accountability of some big-time moments like that. Go ahead, Ski.
Coach LeBlanc said that you are the epitome of a Bobcat. What does that mean to you as far as being a Bobcat?
To me, being a Bobcat is all being hardworking, always willing to take the challenge, and just doing what needs to be done at all times. Like, whenever he tells me to do stuff, I don't complain about it, or I don't not do it. I just do whatever I'm told, and I just do it because at the end of the day, you have to do it at some point in time.
Mm-hmm. On a personal level for you, when it comes to this summer and you looking to improve your game, whether that be on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball, what's like one thing that you're really looking to sharpen up?
I'm really looking to, well, it's two things I'm really looking forward to doing. It was increasing my weight because I've always been small, so I've been trying to gain weight to get bigger so like when I get hit, it's not as bad. And I've been trying to increase my speed so I could be a little more fast on the field be able to create separation while on offense and to be able to stay with the really good, fast receivers while playing defense.
Well, hey, you seem like you're working on your speed year round because you're also a point guard on the basketball court. You're running the 4x2 and the triple jump on the track. Kind of just talk about, working all those different sports and how it all comes back to football at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, working all the sports, well, usually for all of them, for like track especially, Coach E is there during the practices, during the workouts, and he helps us out. Like, he's helped my running form a lot, and I can thank him for a lot of like the new stuff I do and like how much faster I have gotten. Like coming in as a freshman, not even running in the fours, and now at the end of my, well, no, not at the end, during the summer, in the summer of junior year, ended up running a 4.7. Hopefully we'll be able to get that down this year.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ski.
Two things on the basketball court. What's one thing that you're most proud of doing while playing basketball?
For me, I really take pride in the playing defense and crashing the board and getting rebounds because me being undersized, I got to be really scrappy. So whenever I get a board, like it really makes me feel like I'm big dog, like I'm a big dog on the court. So yeah, that's why I love to crash the boards always.
Speaking of being the big dog, or you're one of the captains. Talk about being that leader and kind of shepherding these younger guys to continue that standard and holding that standard of Erath football.
Well, yeah, being a captain this year has really made me lock in a lot more because usually I can say that sometimes I will clown around a lot, but this year I haven't been doing it as much because I'm trying to set the standard and show like we always got to be locked in. We have no room to clown around, and like you always got to do what needs to be done. What I do mostly is like I try to finish most of my stuff in the front. Like any rep we do, I try to get first every time. Like during our warm-ups in the morning for summer workouts, we do like a lap after the warm-up. And every time I'm in the front, top 10 every time.
So when it comes to that, do you feel like you're trying to lead more by example, or do you feel like you're trying to be more of a vocal leader and project some of this stuff onto the younger guys?
I feel like leading by example is better because people not going to always listen to somebody that's closer to their age, I feel. I feel like if you show them how to do it, though, and like they see like the impact it has for the team, I feel like they will want to do it also.
That's outstanding. So let's talk a little bit about the 2026 schedule. Overall, when it comes to what y'all were able to put together, what do you like most about this slate that y'all have?
Okay, so for this schedule, the game I like the most is Week 3 versus Lafayette High. That's where my cousin goes, and like me and him growing up together, like we'd always talk about being able to play against each other. And this year, our senior year, we both get to play against each other, and I'm so ready for it.
Is it going to be like one of those like Kelsey family situations where they got the split jersey down the middle, or do you feel like they're going to have a little bit more Erath blue going on?
Well, I feel like more of my side of the family is going to be to the game since it's at home, and like a lot of his people live like more out of state, and they do a lot more traveling. But I do hope that a lot of them are able to come show out and support both of us as we play.
Outstanding. We can't wait to see that. Let's talk a little bit about kind of your football inspirations. Like growing up, who was like the big athletes for you that you looked up to and looked to like kind of model your game after?
Oh, well, first off, the athletes that I looked up to it always started in my family. Like, the big one for me is my brother, Jabian. He's the reason I wear number 13 now. Him and my older brother, Ronnie, they both wore it in high school. And, like, seeing them wear it, I want to be just like them when I grew up. So that's why I picked the number 13. But then, like, some bigger athletes that I watched and that made me want to play football was, like, Odell Beckham Jr.
That's another 13 right there.
Yes, sir, another number 13. But, yeah, it was more so Odell Beckham Jr., and I was always just a Saints fan, so I was always around football growing up.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ski.
Have you ever like imagined having like that one-handed catch that Odell Beckham Jr. had against the Giants?
I always have that. I always think about that. Like anytime I'm on the field, like anytime it's a deep ball, I'm like, hopefully it's like a good throw and I could just cock back, catch with one hand like he did. Yeah.
Let's talk
all the time as a kid.
Let's talk a little bit about your team. When it comes to this year, who are some guys that you feel like we need to be on the lookout for who can really be making a name for themselves in this football season?
Some guys this year, of course, we're going to have the new quarterback, Landon Derwine. He's a dog. Carter Champagne, he's really big. He's going to be another returner receiver. He's another dog. We got Tate Collins. You know, he's a receiver too. I show love to the receivers because that's the position I love the most. Some other people, though, I feel is Connor Toops, Ian LeBlanc. They got a lot of people. Like, a lot of the people, like, on the team, I feel like, like, a lot of the people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, they got a lot of people, like, on the team, I feel are gonna show out this year because they didn't get to play as much last year with all the well, they did get to play enough with like the blowouts we would have, but like parents wasn't paying as much attention since the games were so ran away with last year.
Absolutely. Before we go ahead and wrap things up, let's talk about the man that's sitting on the couch over there, your head coach, Eric LeBlanc. What's your relationship like with him, and what has he meant to you both on and off the field?
I really love the relationship I have with Coach E because like he always was there for me. Always like there was a stretch last year. I think it was like after the Eunice game and then like some games after that. Well, I wasn't really playing good and I was feeling I was real down. Like I felt like at some point like I shouldn't have been starting. So I went talk to him about it. And I was like, I don't know what I need to do to help the team. And he had talked it to me. He was like he told me that I needed to just get out of my own head and just realize that like everything that I do for the team helps. Like even if I'm not having the best game offensively or defensively, like me being on special teams, me making blocks, doing all that type of stuff is what really helps the team. It's not like the catches I would make or like the tackles I would have. It's not always the big play that I need to worry about.
Absolutely. Team captain Aiden Tallmore joining us today on First and 10 Summer Series. Aiden, thank you so much for taking the time.
Sir, thank y'all for having me. Actually.
Absolutely. And we will see you right here next week on KLO 5 Plus.